The young actor drew in 0.18 seconds and the set applauded. Yul Brynner took one step forward and the applause stopped. The Mojave Desert. July 1966. The set of a Western that would be forgotten within 5 years. But what happened that afternoon would be told and retold by crew members for the next 3 decades. The heat was biblical. 112 degrees in the shade, except there was no shade. Just wooden facades pretending to be a frontier town, camera equipment baking in the sun, and 50 people who'd been working since dawn trying to capture authentic gunfighter choreography. The young actor's name was Danny Cortez. 27 years old. This was his first significant role, a hired gun character with maybe 20 lines of dialogue. But Danny had spent 6 months training with a quick-draw specialist in Los Angeles. He'd practiced 8 hours a day. He'd studied the mechanics, the muscle memory, the angle of the wrist. He could draw, cock, and aim in less than 0.2 of a second. He was proud of that speed. Very proud. Yul Brynner was there as a technical advisor for the film's gunfight sequences, though his official role didn't capture what he actually did. He watched. He corrected small things, the way an actor held his weight before drawing, the angle of a holster, the timing of a step. He didn't talk much. He didn't need to. Between setups, during the long waits while cameras were repositioned and lights adjusted, Danny had been showing off. Not obnoxiously. He wasn't that kind of kid. But eager. Hungry for validation. He'd demonstrate his draw for anyone who'd watch. The stunt coordinator had timed him with a stopwatch. The crew had gathered around to see. 0.18 seconds. From holster to aimed. Clean. Textbook. The crew applauded. A few whistled. Danny grinned, holstered the prop revolver, and did it again. Same speed. More applause. Yul Brynner had been sitting in the shade of a camera truck, drinking water from a metal canteen. He'd watched the first demonstration without comment. Watched the second. Then stood up and walked toward the group. He didn't walk fast. Didn't hurry. Just moved through the dust with that particular Brynner stride, economical, inevitable. The crew noticed him approaching. The talking quieted. Danny was still flushed with success, his gun hand tingling with pride, when he saw Brynner standing at the edge of the circle, watching him with those flat, unreadable eyes. "Mr. Brynner," Danny said, his voice bright with the confidence of someone who'd just done something impressive. "Did you see? 0.18. That's got to be close to the record." Brynner didn't respond immediately. He looked at Danny. Then at the stopwatch in the stunt coordinator's hand. Then back at Danny. "Do it again," Brynner said quietly. It wasn't a request. Danny's grin widened. He thought Brynner wanted another demonstration. Wanted to confirm the speed. He adjusted his stance, faced an imaginary opponent, and on the stunt coordinator's signal, drew. Fast. Clean. The prop gun came up smooth and true. The stunt coordinator clicked the stopwatch. 0.19. Practically the same. More murmurs of appreciation from the crew. Danny looked at Brynner expecting, what? Acknowledgement? Respect? Brynner's expression hadn't changed. "You're very fast," he said. His voice was neutral. Factual. Danny felt the pride swell. "Thank you, sir. I've been training." "You're dead," Brynner interrupted. The desert seemed to get quieter. Even the wind paused. Danny's smile faltered. "I'm sorry?" "You're dead," Brynner repeated, still in that same flat tone. "Before you completed your draw. Before your barrel cleared leather. You were already dead." Brynner didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. Danny looked around at the crew, uncertain if this was some kind of test or joke. "But the stopwatch said." "The stopwatch doesn't matter," Brynner said. He took one step closer. Just one. But the space between them felt different now. Compressed. "Would you like me to show you?" The director, who'd been watching from his chair, leaned forward. The crew went completely still. Even the camera operators stopped adjusting their equipment. Danny hesitated. Part of him wanted to say no. But he was young, and youth often confuses courage with inability to back down. "Sure," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. Brynner nodded once. "We'll both draw. You go first. As fast as you can. I'll go when I see you move." Danny's eyebrows rose. "You'll go after I start?" "Yes." The stunt coordinator stepped forward. "Yul, you sure about this? The kid's genuinely fast." Brynner cut him off with a look. Not an angry look. Just a look. The coordinator stopped talking. "Reset," Brynner said to Danny. "Holster your weapon. Stand as you would face an opponent." Danny holstered the prop revolver. His heart was beating faster now, though he told himself it was just adrenaline. Competition excitement. He trained for this. He was fast. He knew he was fast. They stood 10 feet apart. The crew formed a loose circle, but maintained distance, as if sensing something significant was about to occur. Brynner's hands hung loose at his sides. His face remained expressionless. His weight was perfectly distributed, centered, calm. "When you're ready," Brynner said. "No countdown. Just draw." Danny focused. Cleared his mind the way his instructor had taught him. Felt his fingers, his wrist, the weight of the prop gun. He'd done this 10,000 times. Muscle memory. Pure speed. He drew. Fast. His fastest draw yet. The gun came up in a blur of motion. And Brynner's hand was already on his wrist. Not grabbing. Not squeezing. Just there. Fingers wrapped around Danny's wrist before Danny's gun had cleared the holster by more than 2 inches. Light pressure. Controlled. Absolute. Danny froze. His gun was half-drawn, trapped in an incomplete arc by the simple fact of Brynner's hand on his wrist. The crew was silent. Brynner didn't pull. Didn't push. Just held Danny's wrist in place with the kind of pressure that communicated a simple fact. The draw was over. Not because Danny had been beaten in speed, but because speed had been rendered irrelevant. 0.18 seconds, Brynner said quietly, still holding Danny's wrist. From holster to aimed. Very impressive. But you made your decision to draw here. He touched Danny's temple with his other hand. After your opponent made theirs. You're reacting. Reacting is always slower than acting. He released Danny's wrist. Danny's hand dropped, the prop gun sliding back into the holster. He felt strange. Not angry. Not embarrassed, exactly. Just undone. Like he'd been operating under a fundamental misunderstanding and had just realized it. "I don't understand," Danny said, his voice quieter now. "You moved after I moved. I saw you waiting. You saw what you expected to see," Brynner said. He walked to a wooden crate and sat down, gesturing for Danny to sit across from him. The crew remained standing, watching, but giving them space. While others measured speed, Brynner was already acting. "In 1943, Brynner began, his voice carrying despite its softness. "I was in Paris during the occupation. This was before I came to America. Before acting. I was 19 years old and very stupid." He paused, looking past Danny at something distant, either the desert horizon or a memory. It was hard to tell. "There was a German officer. Young like you. Very fast hands. I saw him beat 3 men in informal competitions. He was proud of his speed. Training, technique, all of that. One night, there was an incident. A misunderstanding that escalated. This officer decided to prove his speed on someone he considered beneath him. A French boy. 17. Who had insulted him, or looked at him wrong, or simply existed in a way that annoyed him. Brynner's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes did. A shadow. The officer drew his Luger. Very fast. Professional military speed. The French boy died before he understood what was happening. The desert heat suddenly felt colder. 2 months later. Brynner continued. I was in a room with that same officer. Different context. He didn't remember me. I'd only been watching from a distance during his demonstrations. But I remembered him. He made a mistake. Reached for his weapon when he shouldn't have. Brynner fell silent for a long moment. He was very fast. Brynner said finally. But I had already decided. That's the difference. Speed is what happens after the decision. And the decision, the real decision, happens in here. He tapped his chest. Long before your hand moves. Danny swallowed hard. What happened to the officer? Brynner met his eyes. He lived. I didn't need him dead. I only needed him stopped. There's a difference, though in the moment he couldn't tell. His hand never completed the draw. He thought I had some supernatural speed. But I wasn't fast. I was ready. I'd been ready for 2 months. He stood up, dust rising from his boots. Your 0.18 seconds is impressive, Brynner said. It's good technique. Good training. But it means nothing if the other man decided 3 seconds ago. 3 hours ago. 3 months ago. You're practicing speed. What you should be practicing is decision. The director called out. Yo, we're ready for the next setup. Brynner nodded. He looked at Danny one more time. You're not dead because this is a movie set. Remember that. He walked away toward the camera. The crew slowly resumed their work, but the atmosphere had changed. Heavier. More thoughtful. Subscribe and leave a comment, because the most important part of this story is still unfolding. The production continued. Danny did his scenes, hit his marks, said his lines. But something had shifted inside him. That night, back at the motel where the cast was staying, he sat on the edge of his bed and thought about speed versus decision. He'd spent 6 months learning to draw fast. But he'd never once considered what came before the draw. The moment of choice. The commitment that made speed relevant or irrelevant. 3 days later, there was a scene requiring Danny's character to confront the lead actor in a standoff. Standard Western choreography, face-off, tension, someone draws. The script called for Danny to draw first and get shot by the hero. During blocking, Danny approached Brynner, who was observing from his usual position in the shade. Mr. Brynner, Danny said, can I ask you something about the scene? Brynner waited. My character draws first. Gets shot. Dies. But Danny struggled to articulate what he was thinking. He wouldn't draw first, would he? Not if he understood what you taught me. He'd already be beaten before he moved. Brynner almost smiled. Almost. What do you think your character knows? He's a hired gun. Professional. He'd know about decision versus speed. Then why does he draw? Danny thought about it. Because he's already decided to die. He's not trying to win. He's trying to end something? Brynner nodded slowly. Now you're thinking. Talk to the director. See if he'll let you play it that way. Not fast draw. Resigned draw. A man who knows he's already lost but completes the motion anyway because that's what he's committed to. Danny did. The director, intrigued by the different take, let him try it. The scene changed completely. Instead of a quick-draw duel, it became something sadder, a man completing a motion he knew was pointless, because backing down wasn't in his character's vocabulary. The hero shot him, but the audience would remember not the speed, but the resignation. The film, as predicted, was forgotten. But that performance, Danny's 3 minutes of screen time, got him noticed. A casting director saw something in that resignation. Something real. 5 years later, Danny Cortez was working consistently. Character roles. Supporting parts. He never became a star, but he worked for 30 years in the industry. And he never forgot the day in the desert when Yul Brynner caught his wrist and taught him that speed was just motion, but decision was survival. What followed stayed with everyone who witnessed it, long after the set went dark. Decades later, in a 1992 interview for a documentary about Western films, Danny was asked about working with Yul Brynner. He never taught me to be faster, Danny said, his voice quiet with the weight of years. He taught me that the gun is the last thing that matters. The decision is first. Always first. The interviewer asked what he meant. Danny reached into his pocket and pulled out an old stopwatch. The same one the stunt coordinator had used that day in the desert. I kept this, he said, to remind myself that speed is just a number. Brynner didn't need numbers. He'd already decided. That's why he won before I moved. He set the stopwatch on the table between them. I spent 6 months learning to draw in 0.18 seconds. Brynner spent a lifetime learning when not to. Share and subscribe. Some stories deserve to be remembered. The stopwatch still runs. But Danny never times himself anymore. He doesn't need to. Because he finally understood what Brynner knew all along. The fight is over before it starts. The winner is whoever decided first. And Brynner had always already decided.